Hello and welcome to the latest episode of missed the paper there, the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about Spawn by Shaun Hutson, and this is old leisure horror. And I'm just gonna read the back cover. First of all, look at that cover, insanity. I'm gonna read the back cover copy. With an uncharacteristic tenderness, hospital orderly Harold Pierce rescued unborn children from the licking flames of the basement furnace. With loving care, he buried their tiny, unformed bodies in shallow graves near his isolated shack. With a lunatic glee, he watched the jagged streaks of lightning scream across the sky, sending a charged power cable into his makeshift cemetery. With utter amazement, he saw life created from death, hellish spawn that nursed on blood and fed on the minds of the insane. There you go. How could you not be captivated by that back cover copy and that front cover? For the too long didn't watch, folks, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. Right off the bat, it gets extra points for the audacity of this story. And it's written well enough. There's nothing fancy about the writing. It's very straightforward storytelling, a little old-fashioned in places. There's a point where Harold Pierce he works as, I guess, basically an orderly at the hospital, and he sees this incredibly beautiful woman, and she's wearing a white lab coat, and he realizes, and I quote, that she is a lady doctor. Doesn't just realize she's a doctor, but a lady doctor. There's a ton of smoking going on, smoking in the police station, smoking in the hospital. I love seeing that kind of stuff. And there's probably a few terms here and there that were thrown about a bit more back when this book came out than they are nowadays. Excuse me. But very straightforward, very easy to read. We start with Harold Pierce as a teenager. I believe he's 14, and there's a tragedy. He is out of society for quite a long time. And then he rejoins society, gets a job working at this hospital, and one of his duties is burning things down in the furnace in the basement. Sometimes it's clothing or bed sheets and stuff like that that are far too soiled to be laundered, whether it's blood or other bodily fluids and things. But also throwing the aborted babies into the furnace. But because of this tragedy from his past, he can't do it. And that's why he takes them out, basically steals them from the hospital, buries them in this field. And as it says in the back cover, lightning's going to strike, and there's going to be some undead baby fetuses running around causing havoc. Meanwhile, there's something else going on, and it's always sometimes difficult to avoid spoilers or know what's going to be considered a spoiler. There's something else going on. I was going to say a B plot, but it might be 2 A plots. And this involves the police and something else. And I knew immediately how this thing was going to be used in the story. I don't know if people are going to understand what I mean by that. And potentially it could be a spoiler. If you were to get to the same point that I did, with that in mind, you might go, oh, he says he knows what's gonna, so that means something. I figured it out. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving people more credit than they should. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so there's this other plot going on, and it's quite entertaining. I like the police, the main police character, and everything that's going on with that, except for the fact that I can't say I knew, because I didn't know that I was right until I got to a point where the book told me I was correct. But I was 99.9% sure that this tied into something else. And that turned out to be the case. But it still was interesting. It would have been nice if I had been wrong. But the stuff with the undead fetuses is what makes this book. It is wild, wild stuff. I actually asked on Facebook, I think while I was in the middle of this book, if someone could suggest any modern authors who are writing the kind of stuff that Zebra, I said Zebra on Facebook, was publishing back in the day. The copyright on this is 83 is what that looks like. Damn Roman numerals. But excuse me. Pretty sure that's 83. So wild what's going on in this book. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm always looking for. And then there's also, we actually follow a little bit some of the women who have had these abortions. And there's stuff going on with them. So it's a finely written, very straightforward in the writing style, with very interesting characters. There's some very tragic things that go on. There's some very horrific things that go on. And the concept itself is just wild. And it all just comes together. It worked for me. This is great. Old school, one might say paperbacks from hell kind of horror. And 4 out of 5 stars. Just so much fun. And the whole reason I read this, just so you know, Kaylee Dobbs of Happy Goat Horror interviewed Simon Bestwick. I really hope I'm getting names correct now. And he's been reading, I follow him on Facebook and stuff. He's been reading a lot of Shaun Hutson, talking about him, and he specifically mentioned this book in that interview with Kaylee Dobbs. And so I was like, I think I have that. Grabbed the book cart, spun it around to the Shaun Hutson section, and yes, there it was. So immediately grabbed it. It became the next book that I read. Possibly, I might have even been finished with whatever I had been reading and couldn't decide what to read next. And so it just popped up at just the right time. So Spawn, Shaun Hutson, 4 out of 5 stars. If you can find a copy of this and you like that old school wild horror, definitely pick this up and give it a read. So there you go. And I don't really have a question for this video, so my recommendation would be Slugs by Shaun Hutson. That's possibly the only other book I've read by him up to this point. I do have a little section in one of the book carts of some Shaun Hutson paperbacks. I have the sequel to Slugs, but I haven't read it yet. Regular viewers know, loves me some Killer Animals, and Slugs is fantastic stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to start digging in a little more whenever I can fit it into everything else I'm reading. But digging into the other Shaun Hutson I have, and I'm always on the lookout for more of his stuff. So there you go. If you have any comments, questions, I really lost my train of thought there. If you have any comments, questions, corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Bluesky in the description below. That's all I have for you. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.